Well, I guess we can start. Oh, that's this working? Can you hear me okay, or is that too loud? It's got a major echo, yeah. How is it back there? Elijah? Yeah. Echo! No. All right. Yeah. Actually, do we want to have a song? We should, well, maybe just start with a prayer here too. So, dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord, for the Sabbath. We thank you so much for fellowship together and for a good meal and for the message today. And we just pray that, Lord, as we tell a little bit about Africa and our trip there, that you would just lead and guide and bless. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Yeah. So, yeah, most of you probably know we went to Tanzania, got back about a month ago. We were there for 2 months, from October to middle of December, beginning to middle of December. And so, yeah, it was a really good experience. We went there to work at Kibadula, which is a sort of like an agriculture center. They have a school there, they have a printing press where they print a bunch of literature. They have all sorts of ministries that they're doing from the center, I guess, Kibadula Center. I don't know what you call it exactly, but mission station, I guess, yeah. And so they have a farm, avocado farm, then they have the agriculture training center, KATC, which is what they call it. And so we helped out in that part of it, which was working with students who were usually high school dropouts, or they were failing their grades or anything, and so they would take them in to learn more hands-on stuff like agriculture and all that. And so we were helping to just basically put together a couple of greenhouses. One was mostly finished and one was half done, and so we were there just to put those together. They were pretty big greenhouses, so you'll see those coming up. But this is the flight in. I think that's
KLM Airlines.
Yeah. This is on our drive out to Kibadula. So we flew, actually you can...
We were flying in the air 24 hours to get there, 4 flights, and then, how many hours is it? It's like 18 hours?
18 hours, yeah.
To get from the airport to the mission station.
Yeah.
So we were on the road for a long time, but we stopped at this little town, and there was a hedgehog running across the road. So we went and picked him up, and I was really surprised how pokey they actually are. Like, you gotta hold it really well, otherwise it'll actually puncture your skin. So that was something new for us. We'd never seen a live hedgehog before.
Yeah. 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 It was actually, yeah, it was an 18-hour drive, but it was actually only the same distance as going to like the lower mainland. I think it was like 550 kilometers or something. And yet it took that long because the roads and the traffic and everything, like they drive really crazy there, but it was still took a while, and the stops, of course, and everything. So
we were blessed by there was a couple there at Kibadula that had her husband was picking her up at the airport, so they picked us up too. So we didn't have to bus it, thankfully. So that was really nice. It just took time. So, and on our way to Kibadula, we passed through a national park with all kinds of animals. So we got to see a little bit of some of the animals there, giraffes and zebras and things. Notice how dry it is. You'll see a picture at the end, passing through again, and how vividly green it is, just 2 months later. So these are some of the cattle there. You might think that guy's really tall, but the cows are like this tall. Cows are super short, but very hardy animals for the area. The local cows are very conditioned to the area, so like a lot of the stuff that cows deal with, they don't really deal with that. So that was interesting to see the different kinds of cows.
And then this was one of the bus stops that we stopped at there. You can see in the back there's a whole bunch of white bags. Those were okra that they were selling, just packed full of okra. So we were curious, what are they selling in there? And they would throw those in the bottom of the bus. They'd be like, this has to go to such and such place. So they would be jabbering away in Swahili there to each other, and so they'd throw them in the bottom of the bus with all the luggage and ship them off to different parts of Tanzania. So
And I think Seth likes okra now.
yeah, it's actually really good. Yeah, when it's done right. So yeah.
Sure. Does anyone know what this flower is? Passion fruit. The passion fruit is so good. Flowers, this one really is fragrant. And we were at a mission station that has 72,000 avocado trees that they harvest from. So they ship to India and all over. So we ate lots of avocados. They also have a little thing going where they sell avocado trees. So the trees, I don't know how many thousands of avocado trees they have, but people come in even with their cycle bikes and come in and get like 10 avocado trees and go. And so it's quite a ministry because their farm is really known for its honesty and good product. So it's a witness around the community. That's another picture of the avocados. This is how they are on the tree. Year-round, the avocados will stay on the tree. They'll just ripen like a year later. So they're flowering and picking the fruit at the same time. Like, just, it's a constant thing.
Under the avocado trees, yeah.
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 This is, what tree is this? Do you know, kids? No? What kind of the trees are these? We don't have them over here. Eucalyptus, yes. Lots of eucalyptus trees. They're very fast growing. And the seed is very small. It's like a powder almost that blows. So it's a huge tree that comes out of it.
This is the packing house, so this is where they do all the packing and orders and everything for the avocados. So this was, I think, the Sunday that we first arrived there. Well, we arrived on Friday, and then we spent Sabbath, and then Sunday we kind of toured around a little bit just to check out the whole farm. It's like 500 acres or 5,000 acres, yeah. Huge area that they do, but I don't know how many acres of avocados they have, but yeah. So they do all the packing and everything for the avocado side of the farm. This is where they kind of support most of the rest of the whole mission is with the avocados, so kind of where they make the money to support that. We didn't help out too much with it, but we were able to kind of pop in and see what they were doing and get a little bit of a tour. So all the boxes, they do all the boxes ahead of time, and then they load them full of avocados, and then they stack them back up, make sure they're all strapped onto a pallet, and then those pallets are loaded into shipping containers. So this is myself, and then you can see Jeremiah to the right. So he's the farm manager for the avocado production there. And so he's been there for about a year, I guess now. So yeah, and that's in the cold room where they, after they're all packed, then they move all the pallets into there. So yeah, out checking out the avocado orchards. And then this is the back of the pack house. You can see there's a trailer full of, those are reject avocados. So they would actually load up the trailer. You can see they have a bunch of bags stacked all along the edge too. They would load it up as high as they could, so they'd stack more bags, and just load it up until, you know, avocados are spilling out. And they'd way over, yeah. And so they would take those for avocado oil. They'd be processed for that. Avocado oil is what they'd use those for, yeah. Yeah, so. This was a tower in the middle of the avocado orchard because they would have a lot of problems with people stealing. And so they had a bunch of cameras on this tower, a lookout tower for the guards and stuff. And so you get quite a view from up there. You can kind of see out over most of the orchard at least. It was kind of right in the center. It's probably about 100, maybe, no, not 100. It'd be like a maybe 60-foot tower or something. So, yeah.
This is how loaded the trees were. Not every tree was like this, but a lot of trees, just lots of avocados.
And then this is where they get the water from, because they have major dry season and then they have wet season or whatever. But there's tons of springs all around Kibadula, so um, they would fill up these reservoirs, and they had probably about 5 of them on Kibadula. That's how they basically irrigated everything. And so they actually had one year, they had somebody who they had to put a fence around and put a little sign because they had one student who was there one time and a lot of them can't swim, so they put a sign, no swimming. So he actually drowned. They found him later. So yeah, so they really had to be careful of that. But
And this is the same mission station that my family was at when I was really young. And this is the home that we lived in. And coming back to my old home 20 years later, it was pretty incredible. This is the home that actually Seth stayed in. Now it's like a men's dorm kind of thing for some of the staff. So that was pretty cool to walk through the home I hadn't been in since I was like 7. So everything seemed a little bit smaller. You'll see that little thing on the top of the roof there. That's a solar hot water heater. So they have clear pipes that the sun shines on them and warms the water. That's some more avocados. These are local avocados. They're not the Haas that you get in Costco. They grow mostly Haas on the farm there because that's a shipping variety. These don't ship well, but they're good too. Just more local. Oops.
And then this is the greenhouses. So this was, I think, basically our main project that we worked on the whole time. And the first greenhouse had already had all the plastic up. It was pretty well finished. We had to put a bunch of guy wires in and stuff for secure it down or whatever more. But we had to bring in a bunch of soil because it was just the natural soil that's there. And they had a swamp area where we brought in a whole bunch of really nice black, rich soil. And so you can see the difference there a little bit in the picture. But so the one that wasn't finished, we were able to drive the dump truck into and unload it for the most part. We couldn't tip it the whole way, so it would drop out most of it and then we'd shovel it all out. And then for the other greenhouse, we had to do hand bucketing it in or wheelbarrow it in. So we had the help from the students. So it was a lot of just handwork. We had a whole line of students, probably about 10 or whatever, and we'd just take buckets, fill them, and then bring them in with soil and everything. So
this was one of the dorms for the girls there at the agriculture school. And there's some more pictures.
Yeah, it was interesting. I got to drive the dump truck, but it was the other side of the road, so the gear shifters, you're shifting with your left hand. So it's a little different. It's a little odd to get used to, but it was a good experience for sure.
This is the one he drove. This is the one I drove. Also on the wrong side. Yeah.
His and hers. Yeah. It was his and hers there, yeah.
Here's the students wheelbarrowing and bucketing the soil in. It's like 175 feet long, this greenhouse, so they got their exercise.
This was choir practice. I think the second Sabbath that we were there. So they asked, "Oh, you want to be part of choir practice?" So we joined in there, and it was in English. Some of the songs they did. I think we did one Swahili song later when we were there. Something interesting too, actually, in that room. I think probably sometime in November there, we were going to church that day, and this room isn't far from like the little chapel they have there, and we heard a bunch of commotion, and then there was like singing and praying, and so we were wondering what's going on, and so we kind of peeked in, and there was a girl on the ground. I guess she was kind of trembling and everything, but so we were asking her, like, what's going on? Is it a seizure or something? And they're like, no, it's actually demon possession. And so she had a lot of trauma and a lot of just demonic things in her life. Like her family was involved in all sorts of things, I think, and yeah.
She was sold by her mom at 8 years old, so she has a lot of problems. But the school is there for those kind of kids that that need help and give them a second chance. So it's a lot of stress on the rest of the staff and stuff, but yeah, the students that come out of there, the community really likes because they know how to work and they know how to, it's really good. This lady here worked for us when we lived here when I was a little girl, when she was probably in her late teens. So it was really cool to see her. And this guy that's holding up his hand there, that's her husband. And they have 2 daughters. And so it was really cool to see old friends again. Yeah. Passion fruit. There's another picture of the passion fruit flower. They build their own homes there with the clay that they have, and they fire it. I'll show you some pictures later on how they fire the brick. But this was an old rundown place that we stopped and looked at. It's kind of cool. This is how big the trees are there, the eucalyptus trees. Yeah. Interesting story. This gentleman on the far, what would it be, far left? He and his wife still live there. They lived there when we were little, but he was the one that when he was young, he doesn't even know how old he is because that was back before I was born, when we had a good grain harvest or whatever. So anyway, he's there still doing pretty well. But when he was young, he worked for somebody that, I don't know the whole story, but he kept, when what was it, Seth? When this land Kibadula's on was going to go back to the government, but he was instrumental of keeping it in the church, these 5,000 acres. So we owe a lot to this gentleman, and he made sure it went to the church, and now Kibadula has this land, because it can be hard to like buy land over there, you know, if you're not a local. And so, but the interesting thing, land is fairly cheap there, so a lot of people have land. So yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, like buying they call them pickies, but motorbikes. Motorbike is probably a fair bit more expensive than buying like 5 acres of land or whatever. It's
$150 US to buy 1 acre of land.
Yeah.
So people can afford it at $4 a day, you know, that's their wage over there. So in a couple months you can buy 1 acre, you know.
Yeah.
So this is a very common sight. This is little homes there. We have, a lot of them are thatched too, but this one is a little more. There's some cows. Can be very dry there half the season, so just devastates the soil because everything's just super dry. It dries everything out, and then the rain season comes and washes so much of the soil away. So it's very harsh conditions. 6,000 feet elevation, so it's a high plateau. So we enjoyed touring around. Thankfully, we had the, like he called it, picky, it's a motorbike, because a lot of the roads were, like, you couldn't really drive on them properly, so a bike can go a lot of places. So we had a lot of fun exploring the area.
This was just a unique site, so we had to get a picture of it. This is actually by one of the reservoirs on Kibadula, but somebody had kind of like a rigged up thing. I think I've seen these even for sale here, but kind of like a rototiller engine thing, pulling along a trailer, and so that's how they're getting along, hauling things and everything. It wouldn't be surprising too, like there's not the stringent laws on like highways departments and everything and tying down your load and whatever. So you'll see people on motorbikes going down the highway with, like, you know, maybe 10-foot boards or something. They'll just be carrying them under their arm, or they'll have them over the shoulder, or there'll be like 5 people on one picky or one motorbike. They'll be just flying down the highway, and so no helmets, nothing like that. So we actually had one outing where we went out on the highway and it felt very weird. We didn't have helmets. We were just going down the highway to check out a certain lake, and so we were like, this just doesn't feel right. In Canada we wouldn't get away with this. So but God protected, so it's good. This is more work on the greenhouses. We're putting in some more channeling and stuff. We're getting ready to put the plastic on the second greenhouse there. So we had the soil in there already, and then we had the soil piled up by the mostly completed greenhouse, and then that was probably half of the load there was already taken in, and the students were wheelbarrowing it in and bucketing it in. Took a little while of doing that. It was probably like 3 weeks of kind of doing that, because we would only get like maybe 8-10 students a day or whatever, and so we would do that for quite a bit of time. And then of course you're resting because it's hot in the day, and so can't exactly exert yourself too much on that. And thought, well, instead of getting a ladder and moving it to every single joist to connect wires and everything else, just I guess have like a playground. so yeah, kind of like the monkey bars or whatever at the playground. So and then we thought of different ways. We can just spread the soil a little bit. So we tied a couple of chains to a board. One guy kind of knelt on it, and we spread the soil around after it was bucketed into the greenhouse. So we had fun just thinking of unique ways to do things without the use of tractor. They did have tractors there, but they were more wanting to teach the students just how to do things without that, because none of them would be able to afford one in their future life. So may as well learn to use the tools that they'd have, so that they could, you know, use that in their day-to-day lives and actually make a living with that, rather than teach them to use a tractor and then never do it again. So they do a lot of slash burning. This was they were making another reservoir, so they were trying to clean out all the brush and stumps and everything. So they were burning that, and several times they made a fire break all the way around it. Several times it got out of hand, and so all the students, there's like I think 110 of them or something, so they'd all be called, you know, there's a fire, so everybody would show up there, and they'd have cut a bunch of twigs and brush, and then, you know, be out there beating the fire, make sure it doesn't get away too far. So it was hot and dry, and then if the wind picked up, it just, yeah, it would spread really fast. So that's a little more progress we got done there. We're finally getting to the plastic and putting that on. And so there we got both sides mostly done. They were roll-up sides, yeah. They're quite actually interesting. We thought we were missing parts for it, but it was actually literally just a piece of channel all the way through like it was kind of looped fabric, and it was a channel all the way through. And they were like screwed together or whatever, and then you had these clips that went over the plastic, and then you just rolled it on the one side, kind of held it down and rolled it, and it actually worked. I didn't think it would work. I thought you'd have to have some sort of chain system all the way along, or something like a gear system, but no, it was like 170 foot greenhouse, and it worked. It was not something I expected. So this is some of the missionaries that were with us, actually, and some that have been missionaries at Kibadula for a while. So there's me on the far right, and then just next to me in the green, that's Jeremiah. So that's the farm manager for the avocados, which you saw in the other picture. So he manages the avocado side of things, the main farm. And then just on the right of him is Philip in the red. He's kind of oversees a whole bunch of different things over there. He was involved in all sorts of things. He would like go to ASI lots and promoting Kibadula and fundraising, and just overall helping to manage it. And then to the very far was Chris, and he was a missionary that was just visiting there, non-Adventist. He just came for 2 months there. So about the same time that we did. We didn't even plan that, we just happened to be there. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with him there. He would join in. On the weekends, we'd go and take off with the pickies and go exploring and everything. So he was quite happy that we showed up. He's like, oh, this is a lot of fun. We got to see Africa, like true Africa. So that was really good.
So one day we went to the acacia trees, and we found this baby owl out of its nest. So we got some pictures of him. It was pretty cool. And then his siblings were up in the tree, way up. Yeah.
Couldn't quite fly yet. So.
There's its nest. We put it back in its nest. Ah, it's like this high.
This high, yeah. You just take a picture of this. Yeah. Yeah. lookalikes. Yeah.
So another thing what Kibadula is doing is they're trying to build the soil. And so they've got cows there to try to regain some of the microbiology in the soil and stuff. So this is one of their herds of cattle. They portion off areas in the avocado fields or the orchards and run cattle in there. And that's one thing that they're trying to do. There's a friend, Melissa, she's kind of heading that up. You'll see pictures of her later. And she just loves cattle and she loves that kind of thing. And so it's really cool to see her there serving God and the mission there and just doing what she loves. So this is one of their cows. And even that one looks big. It's probably no more than this high.
Yeah.
Like they're just really small cows and yeah. And then one day, the home we were eating in, I went out to, I think, take some compost out or something, and I stepped on some of the shoelaces there, and I didn't realize it wasn't the shoelace because it moved. And yeah, I stepped on this guy with bare feet. That was a little startling. Turned out he's harmless, but yeah, it's kind of cool. If you look closely, he has like an orange face. Yeah. Well, we only saw 2 varieties of snakes there, both harmless, so we didn't get to see any poisonous ones, thankfully. Didn't have any encounters. And they have also evangelism school, where they take students that want to preach and stuff, and they train them in evangelism. And this is the cafeteria for that school. And this is the oven that they built for it. So they bake bread and all kinds of stuff, and I got to bake some sourdough bread in there. Turned out really well, actually. I was really impressed. Fire in the back, and just metal barrel bins. It's pretty incredible. A banana flour. I attempted some 100% whole wheat. Later I got some other kinds, but so this is how they smoothen the soil after all the soil was in the greenhouse. They had to flatten it all, and this is how they did it. They really know how to run those tools, and it's just amazing what they can do.
This was the print shop. You can see it's the top view on the right. It's a fairly small print shop, and so they print a whole lot of literature in Swahili. And so the other guy that was actually there the same amount of time with us, he's from the States, was in the picture before, Chris, he was there helping with the cement work, and so you can see the cement work was underway. Didn't quite get completed by the time he had to leave, but they had issues with not getting enough crushed rock and everything, because in Tanzania there's only like one rock crusher in the area that they're at, and it would keep breaking down, and then there's demand for crushed rock everywhere, so they were having supply issues there, but they got mostly done on the cement work, and it'll be quite a bit bigger place there. You can see maybe twice the size of the old print shop there, so they'll be able to print a whole lot more literature and have more room that way. So this was
just a bug in the shower house.
Yeah. Nice big cricket there. This was putting up the plastic, so we had a bunch of help putting it down, and then shoveling. We would shovel the bottom of it just to secure it in place. And then we were getting the main part done, so we had a little extra help to get all that done. So we had a bunch of guys at the bottom of the scaffold, and they would move the scaffold along as we're at the top, putting in the wiggle wire channeling just to secure the plastic at the top. And then, so that made for some fairly short work. We got that done in like a day or so. And you can see, I think one of these, there's a video, one guy, he's climbing up the pole, and he has it's not like our usual greenhouse plastic, it's actually like a tarp almost, but you can kind of see through it. He's got it in his teeth, and he's climbing up the pole with it, you can just see. So, yeah, making use of whatever you can. And there we were just about done. You go next. And then we finished off the back end wall. I don't know, can't remember if that was the day after there. And some of the frogs, we found a few frogs. This was on Sabbath there again. And just the beautiful colors and everything. Yeah. And then one evening we went out. They have a bunch of beehives there, just kind of scattered throughout Kibadula, and so we went to harvest one. So we went at night when they were a little less active, but I think most of the people who were involved in getting the honey got stung at least once. One of the guys got stung about 5 times, and he's like, "I'm done, I'm out." So, but what they did is they're hanging from a tree. There are these little wooden boxes, and so they just slice it, let it fall on the ground, kind of run for a bit, and then come back about 10 minutes later and make sure not to have any light because the bees are more sleeping. It's so dark they can't see. So we had these little red lights or whatever, and so we went up, and then one of the fellows, Yusufu, he was our cook and everything. He was out there just bare hands, just standing there. He was out there for probably about half an hour just scooping honey. He only got stung, I think, once or maybe twice. Yeah, just so calm though. He'd be like, "Ow, another one stung me." And we were like, "Oh." So, but yeah, we got like two buckets of nice honey, so we ate a lot of that. That was really good. This was a little shop buddy there. Not so little, but he was a good size there. Oh yes, I'll let you tell.
So this is a lady that worked on the avocado farm there, and she's an employee, and she was part of the harvesting team. So she was riding on the back of the trailer. Like they link trailers together over there, which is kind of, I don't know, they don't really hear as much, but she was facing the next trailer and it turned a corner and rolled her legs. And so they popped open from the knee to the ankle, both legs. And so she was taken to the hospital, got stitches and everything. But the hospitals there aren't great. So Kibadula kind of took it upon themselves to make sure she got wound care. And even though it's like totally not sterile, like it's kind of surprising, but I guess she's healed up pretty good now. But I was part of me and another lady went out there to continue the wound care, change the bandages and make sure she was okay. And she's just a positive lady. She never like complained at all. Us pulling on her bandages and stuff, but yeah, but it was just that once a day or once every other day was way more than she would have got at the hospital. So we were thankful. I was thankful to have a little experience. This is the other lady that got some sort of a first aid training, kind of. I don't know. She did well. She had a real heart for that. So, and this is how we went out there. It was maybe like 20-minute drive.
About 20 minutes.
Yeah. So. Some pineapples. They don't do great this high elevation, so this is just one of the missionaries' gardens. Another flower. They're trying to study the soils to build the microbiology, so they're figuring out what works, and they have worms, like the red worms, they're growing them there, and so they're trying to build out. They're into a lot of stuff to help without bringing stuff from the outside world to fix the soil. They're trying to really focus on what the locals can get. Then it helps the locals know what to do for themselves too. This is back at the place that we used to grow up, we lived in, and this is an avocado tree Dad planted when we were there. So like 20 years later, it's this huge tree, and we picked avocados and brought them back with us, and it's kind of cool. The family tree.
And this is, I think this is when we first got to use the picky. They had brought in a bunch of new ones for missionaries and some of the people that work there. And so I think about a month after we had been there, they finally got them in, they had shipped them in. And so we were able to, it's kind of neat, we were able to explore a little bit some of the surrounding areas and check out some of the villages nearby. And so we had a lot of fun on that. And just to get from our place where we stayed to where we worked every day too. This is a couple kilometers to the greenhouses and back, so helped rather than walking the whole time. It was starting to get near the end of dry season, and so it was starting to get more into rainy season as we came to the end of our stay there. And so you can see after a good flash rain, it would rain quite a bit, and you can see like a little river on the road there. And that would happen for about a day, and then by the time afternoon came around, sun would come out and it'd be like dry again. So it's like a flash flood almost. This is outside of the house where I stayed, so where Laura actually grew up. This is kind of like where the boys all stayed, the guys' dorm or whatever. A bunch of the workers stayed there. And so, yeah, one of the mornings, or one of the evenings, I guess, they had all these purple flowers. It was just, yeah, beautiful. They're kind of the driveway in. Some of the critters that were there, and that was...
What is this? Do you know what this is? A chameleon. Good job. You know, this is my favorite animal growing up when I was really young. I love them.
Nope.
They can see where they're going and see where they came from.
Yeah.
And you know, they actually change color, which is really cool. So they'll be bright green, and they'll turn a dark, kind of a black color if they're angry or if they're on something dark.
When we actually found one that was crossing a road. We were driving the bike, and one was crossing the road. We almost ran over. Whoop, we had to veer out of the way. But he's crossing the road so funny. He's kind of moving, and then he backs like this, and then he puts his other foot forward, and then he goes like this. He does a little dance as he crosses the road. So you see this little leaf. It looks like it's moving, and he's going across. Anyway, it was quite funny. This was, yeah, Stork. We were able to go to one of the parks, actually. There was a fellow there, one of the missionaries. He had a relative visiting, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to the park. Does anyone else from Kibadula want to join?" And so we were like, "Oh, that would be a neat opportunity." So this was at Ruaha National Park, and we were able to see a bunch of the animals and creatures around there. Crocodile. This was the springbucks or whatever they called them, and then of course zebras. Yeah, some of the. Yeah, really colorful. This was a tiny little deer. They call it a dik-dik, and it's probably like the size of a cat. It's hardly taller than a cat. And so you wonder how they survive. Like there's lions and everything around, and they somehow survive. They're just so tiny, though. Be a snack for one of the lions. So. And of course the zebras and giraffes. Forget what they called this one, but this one was a priceless picture. He happened to be looking straight at us when we were driving by, so we thought, oh, that's a great one. Looks very stately, like he's ready for something, ready for school or something. Yeah. Yeah. And then we were able to find the pride of lions, and they actually had cubs too. And they said, yeah, our guides that were there with us, they said, like they've been working at the park for quite a while, and they said they've never seen cubs this young. And so they said that was a real, like, unique experience. That was their first time too, so we were quite honored that we got to see cubs this young. And we just sat there for probably about 2 hours watching them, you know, play, and everything was really, really neat. Yeah. So there they are with Mama. Yeah, and then actually partway through, a whole herd of elephants came through, and the lions didn't like that. So you can see, she's snarling at the elephants that are coming in. The minute the elephants came, the lions all kind of went up the bank. They made sure to get out of the way. They were kind of scared of the elephants. Yeah, it's got a lot of good pictures of those. Yeah, so there they are. It's funny. Somebody else got a picture. I don't know if we have it. Oh yeah. If you guys can you guys spot something in the background? Yeah, yeah. There's a giraffe right in the background if you see up there. And then the lion there. And somebody else got a picture too. Right below the lion is an elephant. So all in one picture they got the giraffe, the lion, the elephant, and then the cubs somewhere in there too. So that was pretty neat. Yeah. So yeah, they are playing, and yeah. Yeah, the male line came around, and she didn't seem to like that. So you could see in the picture, we got it snapped a good shot of her snarling back. So some of the birds there. Oops. Yeah.
They're so colorful.
Yeah. This is the baboons, or and this was a bat-eared fox, I think they called it. Yeah, very small little thing, but the ears were huge. So it's really cute, really neat to see. A bat-eared fox, they called it. Yeah, yeah. So they were just right along the road when we were driving through. And then this was afterwards. So this is the group of us that went to the national park there to see to go on the safari. So that was the meal that we had there. And hippos, and then more monkeys there. And then that was sunrise the one morning. So it's 2 days that we spent there. Beautiful sunrise. This was kind of a little bit of a story there, but actually got stung trying to take a picture there of the bees, that nice beehive in the tree. This was, yeah, just a pelican top of a tree there. These are sausage trees, they call those. You can see, I think we have more pictures coming, but they look like sausages basically hanging from trees. They're actually poisonous, so you can't eat them, so yeah. This was one of the male lines we happened to see as we were driving through one of the routes there, and he just happened to be going through, and we got probably about 10 feet away. So we parked the vehicle, and he just looked right at us. It's really neat. Yeah, it's a very strange experience to have a lion looking straight at you, but a little disconcerting. But really majestic creatures too. So yeah, and then that was the sausage trees again. Little deer or antelope, I guess. Sausage tree again. Yeah. More sausage, yeah. So if anyone wants a vegan sausage, I wouldn't recommend trying them, but, but yeah. This was just a wild fox that was there. And of course ostriches, we've actually have a few of those in Canada, but and the giraffes, you can see here, the giraffe getting water, so they kind of spread their legs a bit and dip down to get the water. And so, I believe this wasn't the national bird, was it? Yeah, they said something about this is a pretty special bird. They were all over in the park there, so saw a lot of them. Kind of had a red bill and just a unique look. So that was a monitor lizard, yeah. Yeah. And then those other colorful lizards. Not sure what they called those. One of the meals there, that was at the park there. So a lot of the food that we ate there was mostly rice and beans, but they'd have a lot of like chips, they called them, or like French fries. But they were definitely tasted a little more healthy than ours. Probably not as much oil and grease, but it was really good. Yeah, the landscape still at the park there. Hippo was all sunbathing. And oh yes, we got a video. So this is kind of that basin where the lions were there, the giraffes, and the elephants all in one. So it was really neat to just see. Just sat there and watched this whole kind of a show. So yeah, and then that's where we stayed the one night there in the park. These kind of thatch homes with or thatch roof huts, and so yeah, you could hear different things at night, and you're wondering, oh, I wonder what that is. Turned out it's hippos. We were hearing this loud or kind of low tone grunt that you'd hear at night, and you're like, I wonder what that is. Don't really want to peek out and find out, but turned out it was just hippos. So. Yeah. They did tell stories though of people who they said not to bring any food in there or to have any food because your elephants are your main worry. They'll just destroy the whole hut looking for food if they smell any food in there, if they happen to come through. So, yeah, that was a group of us there. And then this was back at Kibadula. This is some wild fruit that we found. I can't remember what this is called.
I don't know the name for it, but these little seed things are really like a lemon. So you could suck on them. They make juice out of them. Yeah. This is how we just stopped, and, like literally a hole in the wall there, and this guy had a whole bunch of bananas that he was selling. Got some from him. And this lady, she's another, she was about 18 when we lived over there, and she worked for us for probably about 3 or 4 years. So I really remember her even more than the other lady. But we had her as over there they do it a little bit different. Like they'll hire like a girl to wash your clothes and stuff, and it's really good for the girl because she can gain some income. So this lady was super, super honest and really stuck up for us and stuff. And so we would go to market, Mom would go shopping with her and stuff, and she'd just holler at them if they were trying to rip us off or something. So she became a really close friend of ours, and it was super cool to see her again. So we spent some time together, and it was really special to me because, 20 years you hadn't seen this lady, and yeah, so some of the sunsets, more avocado. Pictures of avocado from the tower. We would go up there and watch the sunset, and that's right. You can see our bikes down there. That's how tall we are up there. Not all of these trees are full production, but they're getting there. They're hoping to eventually fund the other schools and stuff with this. And this is our transportation. Yeah.
This was finishing up the greenhouse there, just the last end wall, I think. There, and then that was one of the chameleons we found along the road. So he's blending right in. You can see blends in with the reddish soil there. Yeah. Some more of the meals. That chapati is what those things on the side. So we'd have a lot of that. That was a kind of like a tortilla shell or whatever. They're really good. And then beans. And this was market one day. We were needing some irrigation supplies, so us with a couple others that were going to town already, we hitched a ride with them and went to get some supplies and some food and other things. And so this is kind of like traditionally what you'd see for markets. Kind of right behind me there's a kind of a open shed or big roof there, and then underneath all that is all these little markets, kind of like farmers market vendors. So that's basically your supermarket or your superstore. So
it was a lot of fun because I hadn't spoken Swahili in a while, and so it really tested me and got me to. I could shop, that's about it, but it was really fun. Try to explain, not knowing all the words.
Yeah.
And when me and my family lived there, we got this Unimog. And it was such a blessing to us because we would go to villages that had like absolutely no road and washouts and everything. And this thing could drive over anything. So we'd go in there and do efforts. And yeah, it's really cool to see it again. It's not as kept up as it should be, but oh well, it's the fire truck now with the water in the back. So it's kind of a neat memory. I remember traveling all over. And there again, I thought this vehicle was huge, but you grew up too, I guess, so you realize it's not actually that big. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of memories in that truck.
This was, I think, the last week that we were there. So me and Chris, who was the other fellow who was there for 2 months as well, we were just mixing by hand some footings and stuff for some of the wires to secure the greenhouse. So some of the last kind of finishing up of that project there. And you can see in the distance, this was students, a bunch of the students who were going around on the trailers. That's the same trailers that lady had her knees split. And so they'd done a corner too sharp or whatever, and nobody was paying attention. And so she had her legs over the edge and kind of got pinched in between. But Yeah, they're there collecting a bunch of mulch, just a bunch of dry grasses and all sorts of things, and they pile it high, and then they use it to just mulch all their corn and everything that they plant. So each student has like an acre of corn that they individually do. So they till it all by hand with their djembe, they call them, or the hoe, the big wide hose, and they would break the soil with that, plant by hand, put the mulch on, and 1 acre each student, and they would grow enough corn to support themselves for, yeah, for the year. Yeah, they'd eat all their own food that they grew. So that was really neat. I think this was Thanksgiving. And they had a whole Thanksgiving meal at the pack house. So all the people who were involved with Kibadula, all the workers and volunteers and everybody, they were all there. And so yeah, it was a really nice little meal there. That's what we ate. Lots of watermelon, actually. They grew a lot of watermelon there too. And then of course rice and beans and chips. So yeah, this was Yusufu. So the guy at the far end, he was kind of like he became probably one of our closest friends there. And he would kind of tell us all about culture and everything, and he would, try and get us to speak a little more Swahili, teach us new words and everything. And so we would tease him a lot because he was with the girl beside him there, and we'd be like, "Oh, so you're gonna get married?" He's like, "Oh no, too many cows, and you have to buy too many cows for her, so to buy her." But he was a lot of fun. We'd tease each other quite a bit. He would tease us. So yeah, he was quite a character. But he helped with. He lived with Philip, who's one of the other missionaries. He's been there for 8 years, and he was kind of like his house help, and he also was involved in a whole bunch of things, kind of on church roofing and different things that he did. So yeah.
Later on, I attempted bread again, and it was a little more successful. Very different oven.
Yeah.
And what the goal for these greenhouses is they're trying to extend the season for the crops that they normally grow over there, because cold or dry season is pretty cold, and then wet season just gets flooded. So what they're trying to do is be able to provide this area where the students can grow the crops that are off season, and then what they don't eat themselves, they'll sell, and the students will gain a little bit of money, because they're so poor they can't even buy, like some of them, it's a free school, but they have to work, because it's a work kind of study thing. So some of them can't even buy like the lotion they put on their dry hands. So this will provide a revenue for the students to be able to do something that with their life. Yeah, so that's kind of why the greenhouse. You'd think Africa's so hot, like why would you need a greenhouse? But it's multi-purpose. So
more so to keep the rain out than to than to provide heat, and a little bit of heat when it was cold too. So yeah.
More avocado pictures. We went camping, a bunch of us went camping in the acacia trees, and of course we had sourdough and avocados. And this is how they fire bricks. They stack them up, they put them in this mold and then dry them and then stack them up and light fires. You'll see the holes at the bottom. And then it just heats it up and they fire. Takes a while for rain to fall on the bricks before they break down after that. So, and then they'll put a roof over top and they'll last quite a long time. So building a home, if you have the time, doesn't cost a lot. So that's one of the things they do there.
And then this is just another picture of the printing house, or they print a bunch of literature there. That's the inside of it. They were doing a bunch of work inside there, but you can see the printing presses and a bunch of the machinery they have for that.
They also have an elementary school. So these are day students. They're from the area, and this was their schoolrooms and stuff. They have Adventist teachers and stuff, and they teach the kids religion and the scholastics as well, and they can go back as missionaries in their own home. There's a huge need for nutrition over there, so in this school they give them 1 meal a day, and they've seen such an improvement. They come there skinny, malnourished, and then even just that 1 meal a day, they are happy, they're a little bit more filled out, and they're able to study better. So it's really exciting to see all the little kids running around so happy. And it was cool. I was able to teach some of the teachers how to play violin, so that was pretty fun. Do you know what this animal is? Have you ever seen one of these? They're not as well known, but this one's a baby, but they're bush babies. Yeah, they're super, super soft. They're like a night monkey. So it's pretty cool to see a baby. Looks like an owl, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. This is how we made bread over there. And then that's after it was baked with our cook. Oops. You know what this one is, this spider's called? Can you tell them?
He drinks lots of water. Or what other animal drinks a lot of water? Has humps on it. Anyway, it's a camel spider, actually. And he's actually pretty good size, and yeah, he was probably about that big, I think, with legs and everything. Yeah, and that was sure interesting to see that. And this was, I think, once everything was fully completed, we had the irrigation and the greenhouses. Plastic was up, and they were fully done and ready to plant. We were hoping to get something planted before we left, but didn't quite get to that. And so, but it was at least ready to go. And so all they had to do is start spreading seed and putting in the crops that they wanted. So, yeah. And one last view from the lookout tower. Oh yes, and then this was the last Sabbath that we were there. The choir, this was the agriculture students, and they would be involved in singing the choir too. Yeah, it was extra special. They definitely knew how to sing, so yeah.
This is our last Sabbath. We got invited to the lady in the yellow and orange dress there, and that was really fun. Got to eat with them and some of the other people we spent the time with. And this is some of the gardens that they have over there.
This was now the trip back to, because we flew into Dar and then we drove to Mafinga is where Kibadula is located. And so this is going back now to Dar, just before kind of flying out and everything. So this is our trip back to the coast there to the main city. And as you can tell, like I think on our drive in, it was really dry, and then rainy season had just started, and now on the way back, everything was just bright green, just starting to come alive, kind of like spring. So, and you'd see this a lot at like bus stops. People would be trying to sell you things. If you had an open window, they'd be, you know, bringing things to your window and wanting you to buy and everything. And then we had the opportunity, we took a couple of days before we flew out. We came to Dar, and then we went to Zanzibar, which is an island off the coast of Tanzania there. And so we wanted to see that. And so this is on the ferry to Zanzibar. So it's actually quite a fast ferry. I've never been on a ferry that fast. They're called Zan fast ferries, and you're like, oh, okay, neat name. And then when it took off, you're like, woo, this is a fast ferry. It's like a speedboat, you know, a big boat. It's like, I think it wasn't super fast, but I think it was 60 kilometers an hour or something. So it wasn't just a slow little ferry. So, and then this is Zanzibar, the main city there. And kind of the streets, you'll see a lot of cats too on the street. And this is fish market. Kind of stunk, it was really gross seeing all they have all sorts of different, like squid and octopus and just shark there, as you can see. It just stunk though. Oof. But wouldn't really want to eat seafood after that. And that's the outside. This is some of the markets. This is a spice market, and they have all sorts of spices and things that they were selling. And of course some of the streets there in Zanzibar. And some old cannons and things there. And then we went to east side of Zanzibar, and it was more quiet, not the city like. It was quite beautiful there. Really nice long sand beaches and not near as many people and everything, so it was really nice. So yeah, that was when the tide was out. Some sunrise. Yeah. Yeah, and just crystal clear water and everything. There were some ladies on the beach who were, they were scooping in sand, and they were collecting all these clams, and they were actually all alive. You could see they would kind of stick out it's like their tongue or whatever, and this whole basket was moving. They were all alive and moving slowly. And so they would sell these for soups, and I don't know what exactly they used them for, but yeah, all these Tanzanian ladies out there just scooping in the sand. And this was a neat cave that was actually right around there too, and went and checked that out. There was some water in it, and just kind of a neat thing. Yeah. You'd see a lot of sailboats and stuff, and so it was almost like what you'd see in the biblical days, you know, basically a wood carved out sailboat and everything. And then this was a fish market. These were not sailboats here. This is side where there was. These were kids that came up running. They just came out running out of the when we were walking down one of the kind of village areas, and they were, you know, yelling for candy. Oh, candy, candy, in their own language. And so, but they were just smiling and happy, and it was really cute. Yeah. And this was, they would do something to the boat. They'd take like burning pieces of brush, and they would go along their boat just to kind of cure it or whatever. So I thought that was really interesting to see after they've been in the salt water for a long time. So, and that's often what you'd see, these sailboats out there in the water. It was really, really unique to see that. Yeah.
Avocado.
Nice big one. More tropical type of avocado. Yeah.
Some more cows. You know what this is, kids?
Hermit crab.
A hermit crab.
And then this was Zanzibar at night. It completely switched and came alive at night. It was quite interesting. It was quite like there was hardly any people in the day. You could, you know, walk up and down the streets or whatever, and then this was right along the water's edge, and at night they would turn it into a whole market and everything. So it was complete change around. And so I think that's the last picture, and then the day after that, I think we flew out and came back to Canada. So yeah, that was our
Gives you a little
experiences.
glimpse of
Yeah.
our time there, and we really appreciate your prayers during that time, and safety. We had safety, and we weren't sick, which is because sometimes when you go over there, you can get like different bacteria and stuff, but they're used to, but we're not from, not living in the country there. So we were really thankful we didn't have problems, and yeah, we just got a tiny little flu at the very end, but it wasn't anything, and so we just really appreciated your support and prayers, and it was quite the adventure, and I think we both would love to go back someday.
Yeah.
Sure is.
It's where they currently are still. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah.
Jason and Antoinette live there. Yeah.
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 Yeah. They're kind of the ones that headed up and everything still, I guess.
Jason was a student missionary when we lived there.
Yeah.
So it goes back. He's still there.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?